Thank you for joining us. My name's Kevin, and this is... Oh, Jesus.
That is awesome. And we're back.
Yeah.
I'm actually Kevin.
And I'm Lou.
And we're bad dinner guests, and we're back.
Took a big old bite out of that turd sandwich, boy, didn't I? Today's topic...
Speaking of turd sandwiches.
Yeah, and shit-eating superheroes. The wounded angel, the fallen angel, the heroes that, real fall of the hero.
In Rhodey's case, the crippled angel.
Oh, yeah. You know it. He fell hard in a metal suit that crippled him. That was built by his best friend.
Oh, and since that wasn't technically a spoiler, I guess we should do everyone a favor and just throw out the spoiler alert now.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking Civil War versus Batman versus Superman, Civil War versus the source material, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, definitely. Like it says in the description, the book, the film, the expectations. And that's, I think that's the perfect way to summarize a review as far as being a comic book nerd goes. You got your little things that add on to each category, but that's the overarching path you look for. You don't necessarily look for something that's completely different from the story you've been told, but a little different. Different enough that I'm watching something fresh, I'm watching something new.
Yeah, like the Batman origin story.
Oh, yeah. It's up there with Jesus. How many times do we have to watch Martha and Thomas Wayne gunned down in cold blood?
Probably
doesn't warm before people figure it out.
Yeah, at least once more, I'm betting.
That was probably one of the biggest things I hated about Batman versus Superman. You're supposed to be at a point in Batman's career where he's already established. Well, why are you starting with the origin story?
You want to start with a flashback? Show me Robin dying.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Show me some grown man Bruce Wayne problems.
Which would set up for Suicide Squad.
I'll give you that.
Because I heard that they accidentally confirmed that the dead Joker, or the dead Robin suit in the new Batman is Jason Todd's. The one that says, ha 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 ha,
yeah, okay, yeah,
all over it and shit.
Yeah. It would make sense. It's really the only...
Which would also play into another little fan theory. That the Joker, quote unquote, in Suicide Squad isn't the Joker, but Jason Todd being like the son of the Joker.
Yeah.
I know that was a very popular belief going around.
If that fan theory holds up, that will make for a great day. I think it's the only thing that could make me actually want to see Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Well, it
was a very hard derail when I saw that Suicide Squad had a Joker that was nothing like, well, who everybody thinks is the Joker, and it's nothing like any of the Jokers before.
Right.
And I love when people want to make it their own character, but there's a range where you're stepping outside of a box that you're playing with fire. You're playing with fire in a very dangerous way that affects continuity. Perfect example is the most recent Fantastic Four. It's an origin flick, and they completely changed how they got their powers.
Yeah.
Yep. That's really, it's disappointing. And that's like, you go in the Civil War, if you read the comics, I loved the comics. I felt that the reason for the Superhero Registration Act, which in the film it's called the
Sokovia
Sokovia Accords.
Yep.
if you look at the comics and you see what led to the Registration Act, you almost sympathize with both sides, and that's what makes the book version so interesting, because you can play devil's advocate in your own mind, and you can think, well, I see where they're coming from, but I also see where they're coming from. I felt that the reasons for them going to civil war in the film were very flimsy when compared to that. You know, the aliens attacking in the first Avengers movie, that was more because of the fact that because of things Loki set into motion. Aliens were going to attack this world no matter what, because Thor started interacting with us.
Yeah.
And he wanted to take something that Thor loved away from him. That's Loki's modus operandi all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. He likes to take Thor's toys away from him. He's a bully. And it was disappointing to see how people turned on America's son so readily. And I mean, you also saw that in the second Captain America with the Winter Soldier. You know, the people that the Hydra agents that were in control of the Shield were like, Captain America, enemy number one. And so, I mean, you know, this is a character that has almost always had his back up against the wall. It seems, since he's gotten off the ice. But yeah, what do you think?
Well, I kind of thought you were still going somewhere with that.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. So
this is supposed to be both of us. I'm not trying to monopolize the whole time here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for the nice lead-in thing. Leaving me on an island here.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Well, that's like what I'm talking about is like with Superman, and the allegory that Superman in a way is Jesus. You know, you could also say that Captain America is America's son, in that, you know, he represents the liberties and freedoms.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're saying. It's just we dove into a way deeper conversation than I thought we were going into, and not the conversation that I prepared for. So I'm sorry you caught me off guard there.
No,
I was, you know,
it's been a long day. A whole lot of unicorn business going on today.
The Civil War thing. I have to start by saying I have been disappointed with all of these superhero movies, and that's where you and I are going to probably disagree. I'm going to be kind of I wouldn't say not negative on this, right? Yeah, I've been disappointed, and the sad part is I come in with really, really low expectations, and I still just am like, God, I wish I hadn't paid for that. You know, you know that. The visuals were cool, so I guess it's the only time I'm going to want to see it in the theaters. Definitely. So, and is there something about seeing your favorite heroes? Like, for instance, like Batman vs. Superman was a terrible movie, but I still enjoyed it despite myself.
I was entertained.
Because,
At the very least.
Because it was a Batman movie. Somewhere, I'm still just a little kid that, like, wants to see Batman movies all the time.
Right.
No matter how bad they are.
How old were you when you first watched Michael Keaton play Batman? Exactly.
Yep.
Too young to fucking remember.
Yep. Don't even know.
And that's like, you know, the funny thing about that is a very dark fucking movie. And that's something for our origin series. But as far as Civil War goes, I like the fact that they fought. And they fought hard. The Scarlet Witch almost crippled Black Widow, throwing her against that container shit.
Yeah.
And then you look at Batman versus Superman, and you have the worst person who's ever portrayed Lex Luthor playing Lex fucking Luthor. And you in almost every commercial, it's the gladiator fight of the century, folks. And it's Jesse Eisenberg being Jesse Eisenberg, not trying to sound anything different than what Jesse Eisenberg sounds like. You didn't act. It was terrible. It was like having sex with a dead fish.
Oh, fair enough. One of my gripes with both movies is the villain's plan, really, or I guess not necessarily I shouldn't have. I phrased that improperly. In Batman vs Superman, it's the villain's plan. Just in the in Civil War, it's just
Civil War. It was kind of a Joker-esque. I'm just trying to burn their world apart.
Right.
And he kind of did what he wanted.
But the thing with his plan is that there were so many things that had to go perfectly, and so many things he shouldn't have really been able to account for that, led to this Civil War happening. So I felt like these movies.
You might have missed it, but they did talk about that guy's background, and he did run like a Black Ops style death squad.
No, I didn't miss it. I saw it through the movie. I'm just saying, like,
because I know you only saw it the once.
Yeah,
and I saw it like.
Fair enough. You're not going to convince me that there aren't some major plot holes in both of these movies.
Oh no! I'm not necessarily
like little coincidences.
But he would have the skill to disappear, take somebody's identity. I mean, because they had that face recognition software. Where it made his face look like somebody else's, and he had the wig. Yeah. So, I'm not saying there isn't plot holes. It just wasn't as littered with them as Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, fair enough. That was my big problem with both movies. Really, was it just seemed like the attention spent, a buttload of money, regardless.
And they just put it.
And I'll give Captain
probably
America
reaching the peak, and it'll start to decline after this year. I think with superhero movies, every good thing has to come to an end, and they've been running strong for like a decade now.
But they still have 4 to 5 more years. Years. Yeah, going to about the midway point.
I mean, the decline in quality as far as films go, and then they're gonna revamp it again, but like we're reaching a point where they're gonna start having to change formulas and readapt them to a viewership that has seen this before. Yeah, I think the next movie I'm honestly looking forward to doesn't even film this year, or not film. I'm sorry, doesn't even screen this year. It's the next Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, so the next one I am looking forward to would just be Ben Affleck as Batman, just because it's a Batman movie. His solo.
I don't know when that's supposed to play.
I don't know when it's supposed to play either, but that's
out of the Killing Joke is supposed to come out this summer. Really? The animated one.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, animated movies aside, there aren't any films in the MCU or coming up with DC that I really care to even watch at this point. I've kind of gotten,
numb to it.
I'll watch the Avengers and I'll watch all of them. Don't get me wrong. Right. I will sit through all of them. I'll probably pay to see half of them in the theater. Right. But it's almost at this point, it just feels like an investment, and I'm doing something like sort of
like a cattle call.
No, it's like I loved the comics growing up, and I've attached to the characters, and so I feel obligated to watch because just because I want to know what the story was. Yeah, it's Well,
that's the same thing here, man. Like Civil War was probably the biggest event that I ever was a part of. Reading it and stuff, and I have like the whole series. Yeah. Legit. I have that is legit. Almost the whole series in trade paperback, and that's actually how I got acquainted with Deadpool. Well, found out about Deadpool. 2006, 2005, 2006. So, and that's the biggest disappointment I think with Civil War for me. was it didn't have all of the heroes, because that was a whole across every single issue event. I mean, the only thing that wasn't talking about Civil War were Archie comics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the death of Goliath. You know, the Thorbot killing Goliath was very extreme.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
And I'm not saying that I'm disappointed nobody died, because honestly, I think the casting in the MCU is fucking wonderful. They, for the most part, they couldn't have really cast better people, or people that you could picture doing all that better of a job. You know, Chris Evans is motherfucking Captain America. You know, Robert Downey Jr. is goddamn Tony Stark. You know, Black Widow. You know, Scarlett Johansson. She does a fucking wonderful job with that. People, I mean, she does such a good job. People want a solo movie from her as Black Widow. And there's even people, you know, want more done with Hawkeye. And you know, Hawkeye was like the guy that everybody used to make fun of.
They still do. They still?
They still do. And that's, you know, but they have the character, they have the personalities that shine through with these roles for the most part. And that's, you know, people, you know, some people bitch about the jokes in the comic or in the movies, but people that didn't read the comics don't really understand that Stan Lee wrote a lot of fucking jokes in these books. Like, they're going from the original runs of these books. So that's like, you know, that's why you had Captain America, Thor, Hulk, and Iron Man. You know, it wasn't Spider. It was the original, and that's not even true. Like, the original Avengers, Ant-Man, Tony Stark, the Wasp, the Hulk, and I'm forgetting somebody. But it didn't become the modern one until like several issues in, and Captain America didn't join until like third or fourth issue, I want to say, something like that, maybe fifth. And that's when it switched over to the more modern roster. You had Quicksilver, which in the movies, Quicksilver died and they kept Hawkeye, because Hawkeye was one of the characters in the newer, well, I shouldn't say newer, I mean, we're talking comics from the 40s shit. But you had Hawkeye, Quicksilver, the Scarlet Witch, and Captain America, and then you had the Wasp and Ant-Man come back, and Ant-Man becomes Goliath. And then they, instead of Quicksilver, they included Vision. So yeah, I think the thing that really annoyed me in Batman vs. Superman, well, there was a couple things. I.e., already touched on the origin thing, you know. But the other thing that really pissed me off was, it was what, a 2.5-hour movie, and all the fighting is done in the last 15-20 minutes of the film.
Oh yeah, it drug on. It
was terrible.
Way too long.
Terrible.
It was really slow.
Exposition. They could have eliminated about an hour of the movie after Bruce Wayne collected that intel from Lex Luthor's. He could have teamed up with Wonder Woman and been like, hey, I already got the information, because it was downloaded to a secure server. That physical copy of the USB is just there. He could have played the shit out of her. It's Bruce fucking Wayne. You know, even if that wasn't the truth.
Right.
You know. And because it's not like she had her lasso of truth handy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's kind of hard to hide under a fucking cocktail dress. So
that's what you think.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Never doubt the Amazonian woman's uterus.
You just had, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Man.
This is bad dinner, Jess.
Thanks for that. Yeah,
you're welcome.
I know it's fine. It's just
thinking of Gal Daddett's lady parts.
It's just uterus is such a weird word, man. You had to just pick like just a gross sounding word.
What?
Just don't say moist during this episode. And we'll be.
You already said it.
Oh damn it! It's over.
Well, could you imagine how moist that rope would be? Oh, what? Like women can't hear a pair of 20s rubbing against each other. So, anyway, we could have solved about an hour of that fucking movie if those two sat in a room and he was like, "I already know his dirt on you. Guys, do you know them? What's going on here?"
Yeah, but I mean that you could do that with a lot of movies. It's really bad writing. It's just a major plot hole.
Oh,
you
can't.
Yeah, and I thought it was both films had a decent amount of it. I agree with you that.
Well, that's the
Batman vs Superman had more.
With like people are petitions to remove Zack Snyder from the filming process.
That's got to be a rough day at the office.
Yeah. Last I heard, it had like 1 million people behind it. But who knows how accurate that shit is? It could have been clickbait.
Don't piss off the fanboys. That's
you really
rule
don't.
Number one. You
really don't. And that's, I'm going to pick on the Fantastic Four movie again. I knew I wasn't going to buy a ticket when I heard that the director, Josh Trank or whatever his name is, told his actors to not read Fantastic Four comic book. And it's like, I get, like I said, you want to try to make that character yourself. And so that way your personality, because when you can make a character personality, that's when you're going to make the most beautiful work as an actor. That's when you shine through, and that's when you're in your fucking element, and you put fucking that fucking gusto into your fucking acting. But to tell these people to not read anything about the Fantastic Four, or to forget what they'd heard about them, like, you look at any family group or anything in any continuity, fucking Fantastic Four are the most stable. They're what every family wants to be in the Marvel Universe. The nuclear family. Reed Richards, Sue Richards, the children, Johnny Storm, the cool race car uncle, and Uncle Ben.
Except for in the Civil War comics. Things get a little dicey.
Oh my god, and that's actually another thing that was so disappointing, not having Fantastic Four a part of that story. Johnny gets attacked and put into a coma. And goes to France.
Yeah, the whole Reed and Sue,
their marriage splits up because of it.
That's a major story arc in that. It's a major plot point, and that was another thing with the movies.
Marriages, T'Challa and Storm, Avengers vs. X-Men. That shit ruined their marriage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but sorry. I mind fucked you. I'm sorry.
Richards and Sue. What I was. Damn it.
My bad, dude.
So one of the other issues, and I get it where you're coming from on the as far as the people who are making the movie, that it had to be a smaller cast and that the Civil War had to be on a much smaller scale and it had to be more personal and all that. So it's hard to compare to the source material in that sense. But yeah, it felt like the book was so much better because of how large scale it was, how it affected everyone, how people switched sides.
Well,
now
you had every comic book writer talking to each other and saying, this is what we're going to do in this ish.
Yeah.
And, how is that going to how can we make this ish play with your ish? How can we make these issues fucking shake hands and make babies?
Mm-hmm.
And then make those plot babies grow up with these issues?
And I'll give the MCU credit. They did that, I thought, with Iron Man and Captain America as far as building those two up.
Oh, yeah.
For how they got to this point at the,
They did an amazing job with that.
In that movie. But what I guess bothered me, it would have been more, it didn't bother me. It would have been just much more entertaining if it had been more than just about really the two of them. Because that's kind of what it ended up coming down to at the end was almost like a Winter Soldier Part 2. Like they're just trying to, it's Tony ended up trying to kill Bucky. I mean, when it comes down to the climax,
mudslinging on the Golden Boy.
Yeah,
just like in Batman versus Superman, you have this hero that came down to Earth, and he's trying to save people. But you have these people that are saying he's just a fucking killer. And it's like, I'm not the person who threw that sea turtle at the building. I just tried to catch it.
Yeah.
And that was, like I said, though, that was the biggest disappointment in Civil War. I didn't think that the filmed version of Civil War had enough of a jumping off point to say, fuck you guys, we're going to start arresting you if you don't play by our rules.
Yeah, it was a much weaker setup than the book had. That had direct... in the book's startup...
Well, in the books, it was also contained to the U.S.,
Yeah, it was contained to the U.S., which made it make a lot more sense to me.
Right.
And also there were children involved, and it was because they were heroes filming a reality TV show. So they were ultimately
there. Maybe nail in the coffin of saying, this will be great for ratings before they go and attack the mutant that blows himself up.
Yeah. And they...
Make me want to reread the series.
Yeah, it's really good.
Especially, I have that app. I can just go back and ish it up.
There you go. Yeah, you can read it right now if you want. Oh, no. In about 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
When you stop brain farting.
Well, help me out here, man. Yeah.
Okay. And that's
taking words out of my brain.
The Spider-Man inclusion. I liked it. But again, that's one of those... Spider-Man's such a big name in the MCU. And I'm sorry, not the MCU, but the Marvel Universe. Goddamn, period. You had two different books of Spider-Man going on at that point. You had Amazing Spider-Man and Brand New Day. And I want to say in Amazing Spider-Man, I might be wrong. Don't sodomize me. I might be wrong, but I want to say in Amazing Spider-Man, Tony convinces Spider-Man to go public with his ID. And he takes his mask off. Well, as soon as Civil War ended, they erased that part from history. And in Brand New Day, he never revealed himself. He switched sides before it came to that. Amazing Spider-Man, if I'm correct, in one he switched sides before he took off his mask, and in the other one it was after he took off his mask.
Yeah, and the Civil War, as I know it, he took off his mask because it was one of the biggest.
It was one of the biggest plot reveals.
Exactly,
ever.
And it was
John
one of the things.
Jameson shit his pants and had a heart attack.
And it was one of the things that the film was missing was that extra
oomph,
because there was no secret identity problem. There's Hawkeye's the only one really that had to deal with that.
Yeah,
he's got his, but the rest of them
and that's technically Hawkeye didn't because Natasha dumped all the fucking SHIELD and Hydra files on public. So I mean, you figure in the comics, Thor had a secret identity. He was a doctor. Vision didn't have a secret identity by any fucking means. He was created.
Yeah.
I think maybe the Scarlet Witch, but I don't think so. If I remember correctly, the news was calling her Wanda Maximoff. So
Maximoff, I barely know him.
Right? But yeah. And that's Pietro. He died, so it didn't really matter. What was his deal?
Yeah,
I think the only one that actually would have had the secret identity, Scott Lang, Ant-Man. Because he was the only one that didn't really have public exposure as Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Have you seen?
But still, it was yeah.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It followed the same Marvel origin that I've seen in the MCU about 3 times already. I'm getting a little bored with it. Hero is created, hero's boss or friend creates creates the same exact technology, and then that. So,
I'm just
getting tired of watching Marvel heroes fight themselves.
Yeah,
you know,
that was totally a rebranded Iron Man with
Iron Man was just a rebranded Hulk.
Yeah.
You know, what did Hulk fight? You know, just Abomination or whatever it was called, or whatever the other Hulk.
The general that was saying you guys need to be put on a leash made, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody
called him on that.
Nobody called him on that because because they want to forget that Ed Norton was ever in their universe.
Exactly. They try to downplay his involvement a lot,
which makes me wonder why you even make the callback to that movie. But again, you know, it's left out for convenience.
It is.
But anybody who got paid lots of money to write the script and make this movie should have maybe went back and watched all the old movies and looked for little things like that.
Right.
You know, maybe not have him be the one who says that.
Yeah. Who gives him the ultimatum?
Yeah. Have somebody else give that ultimatum. Yeah. Because he doesn't seem like he should even have the position he has.
Like the vice president should have been the person who was like, look, you fuckwipes need to clean up your act. You can't have this shit going down. Because, I mean, you look at how much, or whatever the hell John Kerry is. He does a lot of diplomacy. And so, I mean, you figure it would be a diplomatic politician, you know, diplomatic office of politics.
Which, again,
as opposed to necessarily just being a random guy.
Right.
He was a random general, really, who got the DC post, you know?
Yeah.
After letting loose a worse Hulk on the world.
Yeah, they don't want to remember.
Kind of like real life. But, you know, it's funny how that shit happens with fiction having a mirror on like real politics sometimes.
Well, and that's another thing that I thought that was interesting about these two films. Them both coming out within months of each other, both having similar structure of having to choose a side. And it was not even just the hero versus hero, but it's the argument of like security over liberty.
Right.
Sort of thing is it's just sort of they have the same sort of not necessarily the same the reasons are different in Batman and Superman, but it's sort of seemed
they have the same goal, just not the same equation.
Yeah, it was like different sides of the same argument is kind of what it felt like at times, where
this is how we should do it. No.
Yeah.
This is how we should do it.
And just because both had the idea of making a superhero responsible for
the damage
that, you know, they would have only been worse had they not been there.
Well, and, you know, that's like I said when you call back to the first Avengers film. You know, that alien attack was set in motions because of events that were completely beyond those people. You know, Thor. It was because of Thor interacting with the world.
But he's part of the group too. So,
well, yeah.
I guess. I mean,
But that was before he became an Avenger.
Right. Well, yeah.
And it was with that Jane girl because of them studying, you know, that mythology. And that's just, I mean, yeah. It's just, it's out there.
Yeah, so I found it interesting that it reflected, it does feel like at this point in time,
right,
our country is divided.
Hard.
And I'd like to think that Captain America, that this
sided die versus 6-sided dies.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I know that the Captain America Civil War, like that's been planned, that's been put in motion a while ago. I mean, both Iron Man and Captain America have been building towards it, so it just, I find it an odd coincidence, you know. It's just one of those head scratchers that's just like, wow, it's funny how this movie just really does sort of reflect what's really going on at the time.
Yeah.
And just
we haven't been this divided in a long time.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things that it's interesting how it reflects like that, and especially with, I don't think anybody who would have had any idea at the time that they made this movie, or at the time that they were plotting this thing out,
right,
those years ago, they probably didn't have set in their mind like, oh yeah, in a few years everybody's going to be all at each other's throats, so let's make some movies about it. It's just a very interesting coincidence.
It really is. Because, you know, you look at the comics, you know, those comics have been out for a decade. You know, as far as the Civil War comics. And I made a joke on Facebook about this, but I would really love to see them build up to, like, Avengers versus X-Men. That story arc. You know, and then, you know, work together with who owns X-Men Fox?
I believe that's right, yes.
Because they're going to start sharing characters. So that'd be really cool if they ended up working on a Avengers versus X-Men series together.
Yeah, I don't know when they would.
Crazy storyline.
I don't know if the fire will burn out by the time they get there.
Probably.
I don't know how much longer.
And see, that's what I'm saying.
It's not. Don't get me wrong. It's not slowing down anytime soon, money wise.
Oh no.
But
it'll probably be like, we're probably at the end, like at the top of the climax. Like, we might see another blockbuster, like 4. That's probably like, we probably have like another 5 or 6 like legit blockbusters, unless DC really picks up their game.
Yeah.
Which I would love to see. They gotta stop trusting Zack Snyder with these films. They need to stop turning him loose and just saying, do whatever the fuck you want. Because I have a lot more faith in this Ben Affleck Batman.
So do I.
Than anything else with Zack Snyder.
Because he is just like any one of us other, you know, he's closer to you when it comes to a comic book fan. You know what I mean? He's
right.
more, he's definitely, he's a fan, and he has been his whole life, and you know, he's going to do everything he can. And also the dude has done well directing. So
he really has.
Honestly,
all of his movies that he directed went on to do very well.
So yeah, I think that one will be good. I just God damn it, lost it again. It's getting hot.
Can't
in the
blame
studio.
You for that one.
It's getting hot in the studio. Yeah.
So keep on all your clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have any singles for you.
Yeah, dang, sorry. That's all right.
And you know, the thing about Spider-Man, but I understand they had to make him young to write him into the movie.
Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. So I liked the parallel between Tony Stark's dick moves in the comics. How in the comic he, you know, helped. What isn't it? I believe it's Tony and Hank Pym that basically microchip all the villains that sign up.
Right.
And they have a bunch of villains go fighting.
Reed Richards.
Reed Richards is in on it too. Okay.
Yeah, because he's one of the ones that's controlling the raft.
Okay. Yeah.
Hank Pym doesn't really like Tony Stark.
Well, he was working in on it. Well, it wasn't actually him. That's one of their big reveals is that it was the Hulkling which was just kind of lame to me. That whole
storyline kind of pissed out when it got to that point.
Once it got to the point where they're in the super jail and
Skrull invasion,
and Iron Man's like, well, we've had a spy on your side the whole time. And Captain America's like, well, guess what? I already knew you had a spy. And we have a spy on your side,
and our spy was spying on your spy while we had a spy that was spying on you.
It got a little...
Very Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, it just got a little ridiculous. It was almost like... It wasn't even Cloak and Dagger. I feel like it was tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
I like that. Tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
Like tongue-in-cheek and cheap at the same time. But and then Tony really pulled a dick move in the movie, bringing in a 15-year-old to fight Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's funny that I noticed that or thought about it that way, but it's like,
I think
here's a grown-ass weapons dealer.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I think the only one that said anything was Rhodey. Because when Spider-Man went to... When he literally said, you guys remember that old Star Wars movie with the walking thingies on the ice planet?
Mm-hmm.
And they swept up their legs?
Yeah.
Rhodey was like, Jesus, Tony, how old is this kid?
Yeah.
I didn't carbon date him.
Yeah.
That was exactly what he said. And they were the only ones that called him out on that. And it's like, I wish Captain America would have threw more things in his face. You know, Tony, you're the one that created Ultron, getting City out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Captain America crashed, 3 SHIELD helicarriers on the ground? But that's because somebody else dropped the ball. You know, Captain America was cleaning up a fucking mess that was years in the making before he was even thought of again.
I actually have to disagree with you on that one, because, I mean, if you had already changed the arming device, like if you had already changed the equipment inside the 3 ships to change the targeting.
Well, it's just the targeting card.
Why? Yeah, so if it already couldn't... Oh, okay, so it just made it... Yeah, but either way...
Because
you could have just shut the thing down.
That was
a lot of people had to have died during that.
Oh, yeah.
Thing. That's all I'm saying.
Thousands of people.
That one still maybe wasn't the best case scenario.
It wasn't. So because they came crashing.
That's one of the times where I feel like they maybe got it right. That's one of the times where I feel like humanity would have looked at him and been like, "All right, dude, that was kind of fucked up. You couldn't have tried to just like disarm these things first, and land them." Like I know that they need to be destroyed, but maybe go. Even this isn't a great solution, but take them out over the ocean and don't blow them up over fucking.
Well, that was the other
Washington.
thing too. That like all of the Insight crew was Hydra. Crews were the ones that were piloting the helicarriers. So, because they were going to be the ones that stayed in the helicarriers to shoot all the people that would oppose them. So that was going to be like their fucking safe zone. You know?
Yeah.
And that's Oh yeah. The fucking Crossbones, that piece of shit. But again, oh man. I liked it better than BVS.
Hands down, but
it wasn't much to beat.
Exactly. It's not saying much. But still
has me worried about Suicide Squad.
I'm worried about most of them going forward.
Yeah.
I'm starting to lose interest because also it's starting to get out of sort of my realm. I never read any Black Panther comics. You know, I wasn't a big Doctor Strange guy. You know,
neither was I.
There's not a lot coming up for me.
Well, that's man. Okay, I remember the times that I did see Black Panther depicted. He was always kind of a jerk, and so I never really read that. You know, like, I never really got into the Iron Man comics. You know, I read some of them. Some of them have some good storylines, but there are comics where Tony Stark is just a fucking cockhole. You say the same for Hank Pym. There are issues where he beats the shit out of Wasp. Janet Van Dyke is his wife.
Yeah.
And he's a drunk.
Yeah, that's the other thing I wish we maybe had touched on more. Was the overall darkness.
Why Scott Lang was Ant-Man instead of Hank Pym?
No, not that at all. Why comics have gotten just so dark over the last few years, to where it's gotten to the point where they used to be just all happy.
Right. Okay, 70s. There was a Green Arrow in the 70s where his junior partner was Speedy. Okay?
Yeah.
Speedy gets addicted to heroin, and Green Arrow kicks him out in the gutter. And, like, I don't remember who it is, but it's, I want to say, like, Flash or somebody to health and helps him kick heroin. And that's when Speedy's like, fuck you, Green Arrow. I don't want to be your fucking apprentice anymore if you're just going to throw me out in the gutter like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, oh, man.
That sounds like an interesting read, yeah.
Yeah. Very expensive, too. But, unfortunately, I hear the Call of the Wild summoning me.
About that time, huh?
Yeah. That, double-decker cheeseburger just hit my duodenum.
Ooh, yep. Time to get out of here. It's cramped in this room.
It is. It's the, we need to come up with a name for this thing.
The Hot Pocket. I don't think that would sound good.
That doesn't.
All right, guys, we're in the Hot Pocket.
Yeah.
But, we got something to brainstorm for next week.
We have several things to brainstorm for next week and beyond.
And we will be back to talk with you guys in about a week. Thanks for bearing with us here as we get back into the swing of things. At a bit of an absence. We're looking to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Right. That was quite the sabbatical.
But we're glad to be back, and we'll be talking with you again next week. We don't know the topic yet, so it'll be a surprise.
Hey.
Nighty-night, everyone.